welcome to your weekly stream brought to you by the FPL Academy. I am Andy, and we are also joined. I've brought you a bit of a guest this week, guys. Mark, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? What do you mean? How's it going generally, or how's it going in FPL? I'd rather not talk about the latter.
No, don't be silly. You'll be absolutely fine. No, we're very, very looking forward to having you on here, obviously. I've just realised that the thing. Oh, no, it should be all right, actually, seeing all the chat. It should be fine. Yeah, we're obviously thrilled to have you on here. I told everybody in the chat today that we're going to have you on, and they were very, very excited. So we've had... What we've been trying to do, and obviously you don't know this, is that we sometimes have guests from our own community coming onto the stream as well to try and get them used to being on streams and teaching them how to, be on streams and stuff. So it's been lovely. And obviously you're our first expert to have on stream, if we're alled to use that word.
No, really?
You'd be pleased to know I don't put the overall
definition.
ranks on the screen, though.
No, it's fair enough.
Yeah. But no, so how's your season going so far?
Miserable, but I'm enjoying it though. I mean, perversely, I think I'm enjoying it far more than last season.
Yeah.
Because every week feels like a bit of a roll of the dice. Whereas I thought last season it was like, I don't know, it was like you put where you want to go in the sat nav and it just gets you to game week 38, and you kind of like there wasn't any twists and turns or any surprises.
Yeah.
Whereas it's less of a sat nav this week, and you don't know what little chef you're going to arrive at next. It's all little treats around the corner. So yeah, I think every week I go into it thinking anything can happen, which is really nice feeling.
Do you think a lot of that is to do with the pricing this year as well? Like they have actually nailed that pricing. Like we can't have everybody we wanted to have. And obviously with players like Palmer being so cheap last year and obviously Haaland being cheaper, I genuinely think they've nailed it this year where it feels exciting every week that you've got a different team to loads of other people.
Yeah, I think that's played a big part. But I also think that when Haaland started like he was, I was like, oh no, I thought it was going to be really good and lots of variation. And then Haaland just dominated.
Yeah.
Then he's dropped off a cliff the last four. Result of that, we've seen Salah and Palmer and Saka come into it, and we've got lots of other players like Foden and Isak, people like that who are yet to really kick on. So now I suddenly feel like, oh yes, okay, right, now it's a season that's going to really challenge us. And okay, I'm starting from 3.4 million, but I'll catch up. I'm sure I'll be. At least I'll have some fun.
I don't know how that's happened, by the way, because there was about 3-4 weeks ago, I was looking and you were about 10 points ahead of me, and you've dropped right down since then. What's happened? Is it just not owning certain players?
I just got Haaland and captain him every week, and he's blanked every week.
Oh, God.
Last week.
So it's your fault.
Yeah. And I'm gutted because I had the kind of, I guess, courage is the wrong word, but I went without Haaland and went Salah and Saka at the start of the season, and Haaland went mad. Got FOMO, got Haaland, and it's been. I should have just stuck with Salah and Saka, and I would be sitting here now with Salah, Saka, Palmer, absolutely certain of that. And how nice would that have been? But no way, it doesn't matter. Plenty of ground to make up, plenty of time to do it.
You know the sliding doors moment, don't you?
What's that?
You should have listened to me at Fest. You had your screen up. You had your screen up, and it was no Haaland. Yeah. I was going, "What are you doing, Mark? What are you doing?" That was your sliding doors moment. One of you in an alternate reality went, yeah, I'm going to go with Haaland. I'm going to listen to Andy.
Had I got Haaland then, I'd still have him now anyway. So I still would have had these 4 miserable game weeks. I would have had a better start.
Miserable, yeah. But I think even Andy Martin tweeted it the other day. Like I started with Haaland. I've still had a rough start. I'm only 1.4 mil. And it's funny, isn't it? Like those people, even people that started with him, it's just having those premiums at the right time. But it's been an interesting season. But like you said, actually, I do think it's made it more of an interesting season than it usually is. That template is not really there entrenched like it normally is.
And we go into every week thinking, well, I could have a good week this week and make up some ground. Whereas last season I was like, well, I could have a good week this week, but then so would everybody else.
Exactly.
So, it feels like, well, it's pointless because when the points come in, you can't really cheer them. Whereas this season, I don't think many times I've had points and looked and thought my players are more than 30% owned. Whereas last season it was like, well, my captain's over 100% EO and my players getting the points are all 60 and 70 EO. Well, it doesn't feel like anything, does it? Whereas,
no, exactly.
Like, if Solanke or Johnson score for me against Villa, they're like 10-15% owned around where I am. So it's suddenly you feel like, whoa, okay, it's going to make a difference.
Don't have many Chris Woods. That's the thing. We will talk about him later.
I know this is after the watershed. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about Chris Wood.
We will be talking about him later. We'll make sure we
Okay,
go past 9:15. It will be fine.
cool.
Right. So let's have a look and see how everybody got on last week. Bashir, who is having an absolutely amazing year so far, 74 points for him last week, and he was already top of the pile anyway. So he got 74 points last week.
Oh
Top
dear.
of the
I don't want to
managers.
hear about that.
Honestly, 74 points. He is 29k at the moment. He's absolutely smashing it. He had, who did he have? Mbumo, he had Salah, he had Haaland captain, he had Chris Wood, Lewis and Gavardio. So he's gone double City defence. He absolutely smashed it. And that was with Smith Rowe with 6 points on the bench as well. So yeah, he's having a hell of a season at the moment.
Fair play.
So Bashir, top. Rich Painter, was it? Oh no, hang on. This by Game Week Net? Oh, sorry. Then we had Florentin and Ian both with 73 points. Caroline was 72. James and Indy both with 70. Loads of people with 70. I had 66 points. And I thought 66 wasn't too bad last week. I had the legend that is Chris Wood. Mark, I'm assuming as a Forest fan, you've got Chris Wood.
No, I haven't got Wood or Sells, and it's so annoying. Like like other seasons when Forest came up, I was like a little bit biased first season. I was too pro Forest. I didn't back players against Forest like Haaland, who got a hat trick against us. It was horrible the first season. Second season, I kind of adjusted and went, well, I'm not going to have Forest players, and I'm going to back teams against Forest, and that went okay because obviously we weren't that good last season.
Yeah.
No, I'm struggling because it's like I've kept in that same mode of not backing Forest, and they're doing really well, and I haven't got their players.
You look good. Your defence, especially. I think your defence is like you always had the underlying numbers, but you always just seemed to concede the one shot you'd have against you, or there'd be a silly mistake. Whereas this year, it all seems to be cut out, doesn't it?
Well, set pieces, we're the team who I think we're the only team who haven't conceded a goal from a corner.
Oh,
And we're top for XG conceded at set plays. Whereas last season we were terrible, weren't we? If you remember,
yeah.
23, 24 goals conceded at set play. So Milenkovic has just fixed all that, and obviously a bit of coaching. I'm sure Nuno's had something to do with it as well.
Yeah. I was very happy with my Linkovic pick on Wildcard. He's done me well so far. In terms of the month, it is Rich at the top of the monthly. He's got 182 so far this month. Obviously, this is going to change now. So that is manager of the month. He's won. Rich, well done. Bashir in second with 180 and Indy with 176, followed closely by Ian Padmore and Andy. And then in total so far, our top three, similar names, Bashir, Rich Painter, and an FPL Ron manager, which is Paul. Well done to all of you, all above 580 points. But like I said, Bashir on 607 points. So he is almost 70 ahead of me at the moment, and I'm sat in 15th. But well done to all of you. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly dip into the chat, so I can see lots of you already putting some questions in. So Ron Manager says, should be a good one tonight. It should be. Ron says, one question for tonight, tomorrow might be whether it's worth having Wood still, or if that ship has now sailed for a while. So Mark, if we kind of look at that, I feel like if you have Wood, you should probably be keeping him. But do you think Wood is up there in terms of those budget strikers? If you were moving off, say, Solanke, which a lot of people are wanting to do, would you say Wood is the best option now? Or would it be a Cunha or a Calvert-Lewin or a Wissa or a Jimenez? Who do you think you'd be moving to?
There's a lot of good options. I think I would be moving to Cunha. I think he would be my favourite because it's Palace, Hampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham. It's a prolonged run, isn't it? Whereas the thing is, there's a couple of things with Chris Wood. Short-term fixtures are good. West Ham, Newcastle, Ipswich, 3 of the next 4 at home. Arsenal away as well. Don't expect too much from that game. But I do think that Forest will score goals against West Ham, Newcastle, and certainly Ipswich. I think he's got like a very high goal involvement for Forest goals. So you'd expect if we get 3 or 4 goals over this next 4, which I think we should get 3 or 4 goals. He'll probably get at least a couple, I would say, based on the fact he's on penalties as well. But then after that, it does really stiffen up for us. We go to City in 14, and United away in 15, obviously under the new manager.
Yeah.
We get them at home. Brentford away is okay, but then Spurs, Everton is a run of away games. I think only 2 home games in 6 after game week 13. Not that we've been bad away from home, to be fair, which has obviously been an advantage. But we're not going to score many goals, I don't think, in those away games. It's going to be 1-1 or 1-0 Forest or 1-0 to the opponent, I would have said. That's the template for how we're playing. So I think Cunha would be my choice because he's got the pens. Wolves, I think, are a bit more free scoring than us because they have to be to win games, whereas I think Forest can win 1-0. But Chris Wood for the next four, nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely would hold him.
Yeah. And obviously, I asked that in terms of Solanke. Would you be moving off Solanke? Now, a lot of people that have asked me, I've said I think I'd only be moving off him if it meant you could afford somebody in midfield that you didn't already have. So, for instance, moving off Solanke to be able to move up to a Saka, to be able to move up to a Salah or a Palmer, someone like that. If it was just making that move, just doing Solanke to Cunha or Wissa, whatever it is, I don't think I'd do it. Like, even though the stats really aren't there for Solanke, 11 and 13 in particular just stand out for me as you might as well just hold him.
Yeah, it depends what you can do with the money and what other issues you've got in your team. I look at my team and think there's probably 3 or 4 positions that I'd want to change before I get to Solanke. He's definitely on my list of players to move out.
Yeah.
He's not that high. Now, if you're sitting here now and you go, I've got 2 or 3 free transfers, nothing I want to do, and I can, with the extra million I can get by moving Solanke down to Cunha, I can get this player or this player, then yes, I would do it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no. I don't think there's too much to gain by doing that, because you've got to use that money to unlock another player that you think is going to get you an advantage. And with 3 of the next 4 at home, yes, so I expect Solanke to get into the groove. I think I said to Az, Angie's going to get a tune out of him eventually.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so, because obviously I own him. Webby says, hey Andy, hey Mark. Cage Paps, harsh on Rich and Paul, you're all experts to me. Yeah, sorry. When I said Mark as a first expert, I mean Rich and Paul did it absolutely amazingly on the stream. I meant this is somebody from the outside I'm bringing in. James Harding, hi all. James says, got to say I feel slightly responsible for Mark's situation. I went full Haaland mode post game week 3 when he was trying to argue going without was a plausible option. I think he may be right. Yeah, I think it's getting to that point now, isn't it, where people were saying people were taking the mickey out of other people saying he was essential, why didn't you start with him? Mm-hmm. So everybody then obviously jumped on him after game week 3 and it's not been the same. Is this just going to be one of those seasons where if you can own those premiums at the right time, you'll fly, but otherwise it's going to be a tough old season?
Yeah, we saw a bit of aggression on the way for Haaland because of the numbers were ridiculous, weren't they, the first 4? So we knew there was going to be aggression. I don't think we looked at it, well, I certainly didn't, and thought, well, he's only going to get 1 goal over those 4 games. I mean, there's no way. There's no way we put it. So I looked at the games that he had. I mean, I'm just going to remind myself where we were going into game week 5 there. Well, he had Arsenal. I didn't have him for that game, but I had him immediately after. I had him for Newcastle, Fulham, Wolves, Southampton. So, against Wolves and Southampton in particular, I was expecting 3 to 4 goals over those 2 games, and we got 1. And nothing against Newcastle and Fulham. I mean, when I got him, I didn't captain him in game week 6 at Newcastle because I didn't think he'd do that well. So I was kind of onto that there. Fulham turned out to be a much better defensive side than I thought, but I didn't realise that until we got to game week 7 because I've watched them come to the City ground and do well. So we didn't really know what, back in game week 4, did we really think Fulham at home would be a difficult fixture for City? We didn't. And then he really let us down against Wolves and Southampton. So those fixtures were so good, you can't really blame yourself if you did what I did and give in to the FOMO.
The Southampton one was the one though, with the amount of XG put up as well. Like it was the right decision to do it. It just obviously didn't materialise, did it? I mean, you think you had over 2 XG, didn't he, in that game? And you think if you were told that before the game, you'd have been more than happy and gone, yeah. And the amount of people that triple captain as well, obviously. You didn't triple captain, did you?
No, I didn't. I mean, you've got to wonder whether just the fact that he had gone 3 games without a goal, his XG going into the Southampton game wasn't particularly high. Is he a player who gets used to having a high volume of chances and scoring a high volume of goals? And then when, after a little bit of a drought, I mean, 3 games is not a big drought, particularly by other striker standards, was he a little bit not low on confidence? Was he snatching at those chances? Yeah, you know what I mean? You just don't know, do you? Because we've never seen Haaland go through that, so we don't know how he reacts to it.
What's your take? And by the way, I will keep going in the community questions. I'm just interested to chat to you about it. But what's your take now on the fact that City are, for the first time since they've really been this dominant force, actually injury ravaged in terms of how many injuries they have? And obviously Rodri's been a massive miss this season already, and you can see that in the way they play and the cautious approach that you can see from Pep as well in a lot of games. what's your take in terms of how is this going to affect Haaland? Because on the timeline, all I'm seeing is sell Haaland for Salah because Haaland's not got the team behind him anymore. He's going to struggle, not got the fixtures. Salah's got Brighton. Like, it seems like a no-brainer to a lot of people. But what's your take on it in terms of how much this is going to affect Haaland moving forward?
Yeah, I mean the fixtures aren't particularly kind either. I look at the run and think, okay, Bournemouth and Brighton, they City should win those games, but only just. But then Spurs, Liverpool, Forest, Palace, United, Villa, that's a tough run.
Spurs is all right.
Spurs is okay. That could go either way. I mean, Spurs you'd expect to be quite open and give them a game. It could be tit for tat. Liverpool away, Forest at home, Palace away, United at home, Villa away. That's a cluster of 5 games where if City were full strength and going full pelt, you'd think they would get a reasonable amount of goals and chances for Haaland, but they're not. So I would think this is a very good window to move away from him. I mean, I think I will be joining many you will be. I wouldn't go yet because I think you're right. The Spurs game at home could be decent for him. Brighton away could be decent as well because they don't deal well with pace and size amongst strikers. So they're open. I think City could get 2 or 3 goals at Brighton.
Yeah. It's not like Liverpool's fixture, because obviously most people are moving for Salah, aren't they? And I'm looking at Liverpool's fixture. They're not screaming to me, move now. Like, you know, so Brighton at home is obviously very nice, especially for Salah on the wing there. But then Villa at home, Southampton away is obviously okay. But then Man City at home, Newcastle away. They're not screaming to me, this has to be done. And like you just said, 10, 11 and 12, I think are all right for Haaland. It's after 12 that it starts to maybe go on a little bit of a turn. But then, don't know, is it from 15 onwards you want to own Salah mainly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Salah-Palmer combination, isn't it? I think that's the thing. I think it's not just Salah in isolation. It's what the extra, the
Money
two
can
and a
get
half million from Haaland does get you to a Saka or a Palmer, doesn't it? So you can go 2 million or even 3 million. And that's really the key because you've got that spread of the players you can captain who do have better captaincy fixtures than Haaland in that run.
Yeah.
I don't think Salah is. I think I was watching the Scoutcast. I think Hibbo said, they're not killing teams. They're not, knocking them out 4 or 5-0. But the fixtures Salah has got, I do like Brighton at home, and I obviously do like Southampton away. And then after that, they've got a decent run: Newcastle, Everton, Fulham, Spurs, Leicester, West Ham. And they're not amazing fixtures, but I think the difference between Liverpool and City at the moment is I see Liverpool winning those games quite comfortably.
Yeah. It might be a little bit of a trudge along for City, especially with all their injuries, but we'll see. I mean, we're going to try and go through a few more questions. So James says, you think there's too many premiums now? Wait until Wood is 13 million next season. Ron Manager says, I went Salah Haaland from game week 1 and benefited significantly from doing it, including triple captain in Haaland in game week 2. The variety this season is so much better than the last few. Do agree. Cage Paps, by the way, says Bashir hasn't even used a chip yet. He's still got his wild card as well. Absolutely smashing it so far. Honestly, I know. Oh, and by the way, you should know, every person that comes on this stream has a really good week the next week. So Rich came on, smashed it the next week. Paul came on, got 69 points this week. Oi, oi. So there you go. You'll be getting some points this week.
It.
Yeah. James Harden, just noticed Andy is 1 point above me. Heartbreaking. Lovely stuff. James, do you think Sells has any more assists in him? What do you think about Sells, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you what. Before, I wasn't a big Sells fan going into the season. I thought we had to sell. We had to go and buy a first choice keeper. I still think we will look in January and have another go at Kelleher. But one of his strengths is his distribution. He is, I would say, in the top 4 or 5 keepers for his kicking. He's accurate and long. So when he got that assist against Leicester, I wasn't that surprised.
Yeah.
It's that, I think Pickford's one of those keepers who's got that in him as well. Obviously Edison. So I don't think that is his only assist of the season. I think he could easily get another because of the runners we've got up top, Belanga and Hudson-Odoi, plus obviously a possessed Chris Wood. Yeah, no, I think he can get another assist, but obviously that's not what you're getting for. You're getting for the clean sheets and the saves.
Yeah. I know, obviously, me and you are both very keen on So Rare, and we are about what 3-4 weeks into the season, we were thinking, do we buy him? Because
Hmm.
is he really? The value's just going to dip massively. But he's kept it on, and he looks absolutely nailed now, doesn't he? Do you think he's now nailed for the season?
I think so. I think we'll
Yeah,
look at it in January, like I say, but
yeah.
I I think it'll be the summer until we sign another keeper. I think now.
Fonzie, hi Andy, welcome Mark, welcome to the community. Indy Barge says, where's he gone? Indy, I've lost you. Where are you? There you are. Says Mark and Andy for my walk home. This is the great late night podcast I didn't know I needed. FPL Henners, transfers made for myself took the -4. Robertson and Eze, who has obviously been confirmed out today, to 8 Nori and Palmer. Lovely moves. Then hopefully the plan will be to go to Palmer, Salah, Saka from game week 12 onwards, sacrificing
Yeah.
Haaland, of course. I know Hibber was on about that on Scoutcast as well. Do you feel like those are the 3 premiums you'd want to own moving forward?
I do. I mean, I'll have Salah and Palmer. I've got Salah now. I've got Salah Haaland now. So when I sell Haaland, it'll be Salah Palmer, and then it's whether or not I go to stretch to Saka or I go Havertz and perhaps spread a bit more funds.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I do like Havertz as an alternative to Saka. So I will look to see what I can get for that extra 2 million plus Havertz over Saka.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I was choosing 3 from 12 onwards, Haaland wouldn't be in the top 3. I think it would be Saka, Palmer, Salah. Yeah.
Interesting. Fonzie, what are your ones to watch? Players who will shine in the next 10 game weeks who have struggled so far. What do you think, Matt?
Who have struggled so far?
I mean, there's an obvious answer for me, but I'll be interested to see if you think the same.
Um, hmm. Well, I hope Solanke's going to be one of those players. I think the 3 home games in 4 could be favourable for him, and the fixtures aren't bad after that. So I do hope that he turns it round. I mean, Kuna, we've seen good form from him anyway, but I'd expect him to fly over this run. And I think we talked about the fact you get a goal, you get bonus when you're Kuna as well, aren't you? So it's I wonder how much more is to come for Watkins as well. We're kind of like he's out of the conversation. Next two are very tough, but then it is a good run after that. Palace, Brentford, Southampton, those 3 home games in 4. I think that he could do well over that spell. And I guess we shouldn't forget Newcastle, because Gordon and Isak at the start of the season were in the conversations for game week 1 lineups.
Yeah.
They had a good start fixture wise. They've gone right off the boil, but now Isak's got a couple of goals. Gordon's back fit. After game week 14, okay, they've got Liverpool at home, but then there's a good run of decent fixtures after that. It would be lovely if Isak would enter the conversation as well in terms of those forward positions, because that would really, when you've got Jackson, we haven't really touched on Jackson at Chelsea. It's all about Palmer, but Jackson's definitely got to be worth a look as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I like it. I think my one, and I don't often get to do this, is United as well. Yeah, just to see whether there is a bit of a new manager bounce. The fixtures are there. Leicester, Everton, Forest, Bournemouth all at home, Ipswich away. Like, they've got some tricky ones in there as well with Arsenal and City away, but I think the fixtures are there for them to start making a bit of a dent, and they can't get any worse. So they're already at rock bottom. So hopefully there's a little bit of an uptick, but we'll see what happens. And James Harding, aside from removing Haaland, another route to get Salah is removing Arsenal assets. We know Arsenal have good fixtures from game week 12, but so do Liverpool, who also have good fixtures next too. Yeah, Arsenal haven't been hitting the heights we're maybe expecting of them yet, are they? But Saka obviously came back and showed us what he can do. So it's an interesting one there. James, therefore, surely just get Liverpool now and hold. What do you think, Mark? Is it all about Liverpool?
Yeah, I'm going in with Salah and Trent still. And I would be. It's going to be interesting to see if Tsimikas gets a nod over Robertson. What Slot was saying today, it'd indicate that perhaps we were being a bit premature writing Robertson off, and maybe he will start. He was saying that he played in midweek just to get him in the rhythm of midweek games, but do we believe that? I wouldn't like to see Tsimikas start.
Yeah, I saw an article today from a Liverpool correspondent that was saying that they're pretty sure Robertson will be out, but it'd be interesting to see that. I mean, Tsimikas would be an absolute steal in our teams.
Oh, well, this is it. I think if Tsimikas is in that team, because he takes plays and he gets forward and his delivery is good, then obviously that's a route to downgrade Trent.
Yeah.
I am back in Liverpool. I think that they're a results machine rather than a goal machine. I think this season. but I think that I'd like to think that Trent can turn the corner, and if that, I want to give him these next couple of games. But if he does go off the ball and Simicast is available, I'm definitely going there, I think.
They've got a grueling November though, haven't they? Like their fixture list with Europe and everything is ridiculous, really. With the fixture they've got to
Yeah.
do, are you
Mm.
worried at all about rotate? Obviously, Salah's probably not going to be rotated that much, but surely they've
Mm.
got to miss some minutes somewhere.
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? You'd think that Salah would get a break eventually, but unlike previous seasons, he has been coming off with 10 minutes to go.
Mm.
I think he came off in the 72nd minute in one game. I've never seen the like of that before. A manager taking Salah off with 20 minutes to go. So I think rather than him not starting games, I think what we'll see is him lose some minutes.
Yeah,
We know where the rotation's going to be. It's going to be like in midfield with Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones. It's going to be out wide with Diaz and Gakpo,
yeah,
maybe Darwin and Jota. It's not going to be in positions that hurt us. I can't see Trent not starting games.
yeah.
Robertson and Simicast could rotate, but if you go in for Simicast and he's 4-6, then you'll take rotation to get that value.
Yeah, I do agree. Although, we've said it before, this is the first year really where they've got really able deputies everywhere, haven't they? Even Trent, Connor Bradley's been great whenever he's played.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. We see it sometimes with City where they're making those changes at half time sometimes if they need to rest players. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward, especially with their November, because it is quite a tough November for them. Helen says, evening all, evening Andy and Mark. Made it briefly, but might not be able to stay long. We'll watch back ASAP. No worries, Helen. What we're going to do, we're going to jump onto the questions we got on school because we want to try and get through these. So we'll go through these quite quickly, Mark, because I know I said to you half an hour and it's already been that.
It's all easy.
Brian H says, used 4 transfers last week to take Saka, Diaz, Calvert-Lewin and Havertz out. I've got 1 free this week. Should I roll and play as currently saved? Note Palmer cap over Haaland. So he's captaining Palmer instead of Haaland, which unfortunately as a United fan I actually quite like. Ruud van Nistelrooy, it was like just gung-ho midweek. Although it was very interesting. We actually played better second half than the first half. First half, just everything went in. But so he's got Palmer captain. I think there's going to be some goals in that game. Can you see the team, Mark?
Yeah, I got it in front of me.
So
Yeah,
basically he's saying, do I roll with what I've got right now? And I think that team looks pretty good. Gabriel's obviously coming back in. It looks like he's going to play. I think that looks pretty good.
There's no red flags there at all, isn't he? Because he's got Mikalenko to come in for Gabriel. Although I do fancy Gabriel to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Mikalenko over Semenyo is the right bench order. I quite fancy Semenyo against City. I do think City will concede.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely roll that. I don't see any issue there at all. And I think we've seen, like, if you can accrue these transfers and roll them over, it is really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't taken any hits, and I'm normally hit-tastic every season. So I definitely think roll on that one.
Yeah, nice. John Martin, I'm bringing in Salah from game week 10 to 13, possibly longer if I can hold my nerve and take on Haaland. Game week 11, I'll roll. Game week 12, plan to move Solanke and Kulusevski to Saka and Raul Jimenez. I'm short on funds for Wissa. My broader question is this. This is our resident Australian, by the way. As a typically conservative manager, even though dropping Haaland might contradict that, are we risking too much value by frequently switching in and out of premium assets? For instance, if I commit to Haaland, does sticking with him long term make more sense, given his potential for consistent returns at 15.4 million? Moving off him could open up more captaincy options, but we'd need to make the right picks each week to justify that. It essentially means betting on a 33.3% success rate if we rotate with players like Saka, Palmer and Salah. Hope that all makes sense. This sounds like a classic Seb rabbit hole. Yes, it does a bit. So what do you think? He's basically asking, do we just keep that main premium and then know that you're just going to captain him most weeks? Or is having Saka, Palmer and Salah better because you can mix between them in terms of captaincy? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I thought about this as well. I think that from what I've seen of Salah, I'm probably going to stick with him in the main as my main captain and bring Palmer in for home games that I back him in. I think that you can look at the rotation between Palmer and Salah for the captaincy. I don't think Saka's in the equation. I don't think Saka's ceiling. I've captained him a few times this season. It hasn't worked out. So I think if you're dropping Haaland, it's going to be between Salah and Palmer most weeks. I think I've seen enough of Palmer to think it's the home games that he really bangs for rather than away. Whereas I think what you've got with Salah, we've seen 6 double-digit returns out of 9. That's very consistent.
Yeah.
And like I say, Liverpool winning most games. So I don't think it is quite 33% because I don't think it's a three-way tussle for the captaincy. I think it's a two-way tussle. And if you do what I'm doing, which is like probably 75% of the time I'm going Salah, then it doesn't feel like you got that dilemma. Obviously, you're going to get it wrong some weeks. Obviously,
Yeah.
Palmer's going to score Salah. But I think if you're backing Salah every week, it's not far off the same level of certainty than backing Haaland, is it? And then
Yeah.
arguably, with 6 double-figure returns versus Haaland's 3, he's a better captaincy option.
See, does that make him a better captaincy option? Or is a better captaincy option the ones that can bang really big? Like Palmer and Haaland are the only two for me, I think, that can bang really big. And when you're going up against... So, for instance, you're not going to triple captain, say, Salah against, Arsenal or Liverpool, whatever it is.
No.
But Palmer and Haaland, if they've got a weak opposition, you can captain them knowing, I think they're going to go big. And I just don't know whether I get that from Salah anymore. I was having this argument with Hibbo, and I just don't feel like... I feel like Palmer and Haaland are in tier 1, and I feel like Salah's just below them now, for me. I think he's got the consistency, but I do not expect Salah to hit 24 points, whereas Palmer and Haaland, I think, could.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think that his game has expanded to take in the creativity now. I can see him having games where he gets close to 20 points, where he gets a goal and 2 assists and max bonus and a clean sheet. So he'll push that way. Is he as explosive as Palmer and Haaland? No, he's not. But sitting here now, we could have already seen Haaland and Palmer's biggest game weeks of the season.
True. Yeah.
So I think that, and I just think Liverpool, like Southampton away, right? They could press Southampton up high. Southampton give the ball away a few times, and Salah comes out with 4 returns or something crazy like that. That could happen.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're saying in terms of the home games. You would always, I think Palmer, like I said, for the attractive home games, I will go Palmer. But most weeks I will go with the dependency that Salah would give me.
I think Palmer's the one I'm going to most probably play my triple captain on this year.
Yes, I agree.
From what I've seen. John Martin again says, is Rico Lewis worth holding for the entire season? With the current injuries at Man City, he seems secure for now, though I expect he might be rested when others players return, especially given his heavy workload in 2024. What do you reckon about Rico? I mean, he's been one of their best players, and Pep's even come out and said he's one of the only players I can't replace right now. Everything is saying he should just be playing every game, surely.
Yeah, and if you got him for 4 or 5, it's an easy hold, isn't it? Because I don't think we need 3 City slots at the moment, and I think you can hold Lewis, and you're not resenting the fact you can't get another big player from Man City in terms of price, because there isn't one. I don't think. Foden and Haaland and Lewis are probably the way to go if you want 3 City. But do you want 3 City? I mean, I don't think we do at the moment. I don't think there's a place there for Foden. Guardiola has probably got more firepower than Lewis in terms of goal threat, but he's far more expensive. So I just think Lewis is in that perfect sweet spot of, well, he gets me a City defender when I do fancy a clean sheet. He's got a little bit of attacking threat, but he's playing every game. I mean, like any player who plays every game for City has got to be worth it, particularly at 4 or 5.
I agree. Paul Bates, no decisions yet until the press conferences have taken place. Hopefully both Gabriel and Gavadio will be fit. Yeah, Gavadio sounds like a bit of a yellow flag at the moment. I have been thinking of selling Watkins for someone cheaper, but Tottenham might be vulnerable with their injuries. I could get to Saka in 3 moves from Smith Rowe, but Salah would also be doable by one of these 3 moves being to sell TAA. If the 2 defenders are both fit, I could hold my transfer, but I'm quite tempted by the idea of buying Nicholas Jackson. Wood is out due to their fixtures. Cunha has great fixtures, but I'm not convinced by Wolves. Wissa is another possibility. So I'm just going to bring his team up here. And what was it he said? He's got 3 free transfers, which is quite nice. So it's basically, what does he do with his 3 free transfers? So I brought the team up. I mean, again, and I've said this for most people, it looks absolutely fine on the whole. I'm not a massive fan of having the double Fulham attack in Smith Rowe and Raul Jimenez there, but it's whether with 3 free transfers, Mark, would you be doing that Haaland to Salah switch? Like if you had those 3 free transfers, you could do it for free. Would you be saying, yep, grab that EV and just move from Haaland to Salah?
He's got Palmer already, hasn't he?
He does.
And Trent in there as well. I think I would.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think that I think he hasn't got any Liverpool attack, and they've got the 3 home games now to come in the next 4. I do think Salah will outscore Haaland over these next 2. Haaland's away from home in a little bit of a stuttering City team. I think that team is fine as is,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. But do I think that I'd rather have Salah over Haaland for this run? Yeah, I think I probably would. And with 3 free transfers, you can do it, can't you? Not only can you move Haaland out, but you can do something with that money as well.
God, do you know what I just got a real deja vu moment of?
What's that?
Was when we were when everybody moved from Watkins to Darwin last year.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah,
I didn't actually. I
it
didn't. It
was
was a
Bournemouth
lovely.
away, wasn't it? As well, where he got didn't he get a brace and an assist in Bournemouth away, Watkins? I think.
Oh, I can't remember now. I could just
Yeah.
remember it was just looked like a no-brainer to do it, and obviously people were even doing it on a -4, weren't they? But this
Yeah.
does seem there's obviously it's all different context this time, isn't it? In it as well, but I think with 3 free transfers, that move's got to be in his thoughts.
Yeah, it's only the Spurs game in 12 that I worry about. I think if you look at this next group of 4 matches, Salah, Brighton, Villa, Southampton, City at home. I mean, even City at home, Liverpool score. Liverpool
Yeah,
score against City at home. Salah, we've seen him put them to the sword before with wonder goals. So you don't back against Salah, even in the home game against City. Brighton and Villa and Southampton, great fixtures. And you look at Haaland in reverse. The only fixture I look at over the next 3 where I really fancy him is probably Spurs, maybe Brighton away as well.
mm-hmm.
There's no question for me the fixtures are better. There's no question for me that City aren't in as great a shape as Liverpool in terms of getting results and scoring goals. So I think with 3 free transfers, I'd probably do it because you can use the 3 free transfers to maximise the funds that you clear.
Yeah, fair enough. Helen says, can't make streamers watching daughter's theatre production. No worries, Helen. Does this look okay? Captaincy? Question mark. Good luck all for this week. I did Watkins and Foden to Wissa and Salah. Probably could have rolled. Confession, it required a -4. Sorry again. So Helen, I've been trying since we've started to not take hits every week, and she takes hits every week, and she actually now starts hiding them from me as well and telling me after the deadline. So
Oh,
this is her team, but she's thinking about captaincy. So she's got Haaland, Salah, and Palmer,
lovely.
and she is basically wondering about captaincy. So at the moment, she's on Salah.
Yeah, it's Salah. I've got Haaland and Salah, and I'm going Salah.
Yeah,
I think Palmer could do something at United, but you've got to think there will be some degree of lift in the
yeah,
Old Trafford faithful and amongst the team. I think that will be a 1-1 draw myself. I don't think there'll be too many goals in that game. Whereas I do think that Liverpool could put 3 to 4 past Brighton. I
yeah.
think Brighton are not in a good shape. Salah's rested. Yeah, I think Salah will be the top scoring player out of those 3.
Yeah, nice. Caroline, there seems to be steady move to cheaper forwards. Cunha, Wissa, Wood, Raul, with money moving to midfield for Saka, Palmer, Salah, Son, Bruno and Bumo. Do you think this trend is just the week's fad, given it tends to exclude Haaland, Watkins and Havertz? So do you think this is the right move, moving this money out of forwards and putting them into midfielders?
I do.
Yeah,
We looked at this in Black Box. I think you touched on it as well in
yeah,
Scoutcast this week. The way the bonus has fallen, suddenly 1 goal becomes 8-9 points,
yeah,
and so you can target forwards who perhaps are only going to get 1 goal. Chris Wood, Jimenez, Cunha, and you're pretty certain they're going to get you 8, possibly mainly 9 points because the way the bonus is falling. Because they're in teams that concede goals, so therefore there's no way the defence are getting bonus. So now, do you need to go to the level of Watkins and Havertz, strikers who can score a brace?
yeah,
I don't think a brace versus the 1 goal with maximum bonus is worth the extra 2 to 3 million you have to pay to get it.
yeah, yeah,
So although Wood, Jimenez, and Cunha aren't going to get you 2 goals in many games, I don't think they need to
yeah.
because of the bonus. So you can then spend that money in midfield, which, as we know, and has been for many seasons, the best place to spend your money. I think it's a trend, and I don't think the trend is going to turn.
Yeah, it's feeling more and more like old school FPL. this season. Like really cheap defence and then loads of money on your midfielders and one big striker. Like this is what it used to be like, wasn't it? When you used to buy like Ronaldo, Lampard, all that lot. The only thing I will say is I would have loved it this season if we had Kane still in the league. If we had that extra premium and that extra one that could compete with Haaland as well. To have Kane, Haaland, Palmer, Saka, Salah, like that would have been awesome in terms of the differences we would have had with the team. So hopefully all those players stay next year and we get one more premium asset added. I think that would be really, really good for the game.
I've got a feeling United might go shopping for a certain Sporting Lisbon striker. But,
do you think so? I don't think we will see. I don't think so. I feel like he'll end up going to somewhere like Chelsea or something like that in the end. I think he will end up in the Prem, but yeah, I know what you mean. Obviously, I'm used to owning him in Gaffer for Coventry.
He's a hell of a player, and I'm just kicking ourselves that Forest didn't go in for him. It was crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
No one touched him, did they? They let him sit at Coventry for all those games and then let him leave the country to Sporting. Crazy.
Yeah. And what's great, so it was between him and Ben Brereton Diaz. They were the two killing it in the Championship that year. And Ben Brereton Diaz went to Villarreal, I think, or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and then came to England, didn't he?
But United, yeah.
Andy Robinson, 0 in the bank, 3 free transfers. We're good at saving transfers in this community. Short-term question. I could jump on the bandwagon and move Solanke to Cunha. Is it worth it, or do I hold Solanke for the Ipswich fixture? What do you think?
It depends what you can do with the money.
We've lost your visual, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, my camera's overheated with all the excitement.
Bless you.
It depends what you can do with the money, I think, Andy. So I don't necessarily think that's going to be an obvious net gain over the next two. Long term, it's definitely a net gain because Wolves' fixtures are great. But in a series of 2 or 3 games and the fixtures that Spurs have got, I think Solanke can come good. Yeah. So really, what can you do with that million? What can you get for that 1.3, 1.4?
Yeah.
If it's not going to have a significant advantage doing that sell, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And then he's also got a long-term question. I already have Salah, Palmer and Haaland. No nice way to get Saka in without going cheap elsewhere. So Solanke to Archer, Gabriel to Hall or McNeil to Saka. Is it better to start planning when I will swap Salah, Palmer and Saka and always keep the funds to get any of them back? Or to own them and just sit on them, hoping I can keep flavour of the month underpriced players. So should he always keep money in the bank to be able to move from, say, a Saka to a Palmer and make sure that he can always be fluid with those moves? Or is it better to just keep that player through, however many fixtures?
I think it's a lovely scenario to be able to back yourself to move from one heavy hitter to the next, rotate them. I think that would be the dream scenario because there's no question that I feel that this season the managers who would do best and the manager that wins FPL will be the manager who does that successfully. So that is the right tactic to do. Doing it well is incredibly difficult. Obviously, the easiest thing to do is sit on those 3 players and hope you captain the right one. But there's no question that the elite strategy is to move them around and have some money in the bank to allow you to do that. I don't know what approach I'm going to go with. I will probably end up with those 3, or I'll go Havertz over Saka and a bit more money and spend it elsewhere. I would probably say there's enough value around where you can get those 3 in and sit on them.
Yeah, I agree. James says, hey guys, great to see the late tackle team together on a Friday. By game week 12, I have a dastardly plan to own Salah, Saka, Palmer, Watkins and Trent. And dastardly plans almost never go wrong. It involves taking one hit to get there in the next 3 weeks. I have 1 free transfer and was planning to roll. However, I could bring the hit forward and transfer to Semenyo to Salah and then Haaland to Strand, Larson or Jimenez. And that would be for a -4. I'd captain Mo. What are your thoughts?
This week?
Yeah, this week. So it would be for a hit, Semenyo to Salah, and then Haaland to Strand Larson or Raul.
I wouldn't do it for a hit.
I don't think I would either.
No.
Don't mind the Larson pick.
No, don't mind it. But I think that when you throw in the -4 as well, it isn't as palatable for me.
Yeah. And, Haaland can still easily get a goal in that game. And, as soon as he does, you're fighting to get that -4.
Yeah, and it's one thing not captaining Haaland; it's another thing not owning him, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. Spoken like a man that didn't start with him this season. Paul Norris says, hello. Game week 12 is being highlighted as a key fixture swing point. Which players are you ideally going to have from game week 12 onwards? The fixture ticker suggests Wolves, Ipswich are still good, and Arsenal, Brighton and Chelsea improve. So what are you thinking from game week 12? I mean, Arsenal's the obvious one, but yeah, like you said, maybe Villa as well. What are you thinking from game week 12?
Well, I'm thinking that Haaland, if I move him out, will probably go to Jackson, and so I'll double up on Chelsea because I do think that in terms of attacking teams, they're right up there, and the fixtures are very good. They're right at the top of the ticker. I probably want to get either Saka or Havertz as well. Don't know whether I'll go both. It's possible you can go both because the Arsenal defence, we've been moving obviously Gabriel Saliba and Raya out. I will have at least 2 Arsenal players and at least 2 Chelsea players, so that's where I'd want to go with that. Wolves, very good fixtures. Bournemouth, I'm probably going to keep Semenyo.
Yeah,
probably going to be Rodgers who goes for me out of the middle, or maybe I am considering this, and I know it's mad losing in Mbumo because when you look at XG delta, when you look at the players who have overperformed their XG, he's top.
Yeah.
So he's outperformed his XG by something like ridiculous, like 5 XG at the moment. In game week 12, their fixtures do turn.
Yeah.
And if you want to make up ground, obviously Mbumo gets you clearing out Rodgers isn't going to get me a lot of money. Clearing out Mbumo would, but it's risky. But depending on my rank, if I have to be radical, then it will be Mbumo who goes. So. Yeah, it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Wolves for me. They're the players and the teams I'm going to be backing. And although Rodgers might be the one to lose, Villa do have good fixtures over that run as well. So it's difficult to lose all your Villa, isn't it?
Yeah, another one I'm going to put into the mix, and it's not going to be welcomed because there's already an absolute myriad of players that we're getting as cheap strikers. But Pedro as well. Pedro will probably be back by then, and Brighton's fixtures look lovely from 12 onwards for about 7 weeks. So I think Pedro could be somebody as well, because obviously he'll be on pens for Brighton too. So I think that's a good one to look at as well.
Yep.
JM's in the chat saying, I made it. Well, fair play, mate. I don't know what time it is in Oz, but good morning. Good morning? Yeah. Would be morning, wouldn't it? Yeah. Doubted myself then. Will Webster, hey Andy, don't think I'm making any moves this week. Am I okay to roll this, or is there anything I should look at? Only one free transfer. Would ideally like to save as many transfers as possible for game week 12. So just having a look at his team. Raya, Lewis, Aït-Nouri. Nice to have Aït-Nouri already. Trent, Saka, Foden, and Mbumo, Rodgers, Haaland, Havertz, Delap. I don't see much wrong with that, to be perfectly honest. Quite nice having Delap against Leicester at home as well.
If you've blown the team up there, I can't see it on my screen as yet.
Yes, I have, yeah.
I'm a little bit behind. Let's have a look. Okay, right. So what's he got free transfer-wise?
He's got one free transfer, but he wants to roll quite a bit.
Yeah, this is a great team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Aït-Nouri in there. He's got Havertz and Delap. Like you say, Delap in a nice position. He should be back in the starting 11, right? So
it's the Salah FOMO, isn't it? That's what it is for everybody. They see lack of Salah and think, oh, what is this an all right team? I think that's a great team.
It is. I mean, the Foden thing is the issue. I think maybe doubling up on the City attack. I mean, I do think they win games. I don't think they're free flowing. So I mean, I did the Foden to Salah move because I had the money to do it. If he was going to do Foden to Salah, he'd have to take a hit, right? He's only got one free transfer. Yeah, you can't do it. I wouldn't. Yeah, you need 2 transfers to make a big difference to that team, and I don't think you need to do it.
Yeah, Johnny Hotine, who, by the way, Mark, I should say, Johnny, I got loads of recommendations for him when I went to Torquay. Went there, met him, shook his hand. Since then, he's gone down in rank to 1.4 million, and I've gone up to 1.4. So shaking hands meant that we kind of met in the middle somewhere, which has been quite nice.
I presume John is the guy who's top of our predictions league on Black Box as well.
Oh, I think he is actually. Yeah, he's in the Black Box Godfather.
68% outcome predictions. And he's dropped to about 55. So not only did you affect his FPL his abilities, you affect his prediction abilities as well. So
that's not a good advert for my community.
Just don't shake Andy's hand. No. Don't shake Andy's hand. Are you all right as long as there's no physical contact?
Exactly. Yeah, I've been told that all my life actually. Hey Andy, what's your thoughts on a -8 to do Trent, Solanke, and Foden to Salah, Wood, and Aït-Nouri? I mean, I know what you're going to say. I'm assuming it's going to be the same as me. That
-8.
-8 to take Trent, Solanke and Foden out for Salah, Wood and Aït-Nouri. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it personally.
I mean, I'd do it for free.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do it for -4 though, so no way I'd do it for -8.
Especially, and I've said this quite a lot in the group chat this week, is that when you're moving out players that are still playing as well, like, it's so tough. If a few of those players were injured, I could kind of understand, but Trent, Solanke and Foden, all of those could conceivably do well this week.
Yeah, I mean, they're all, the thing is that there's 6 really good players there, aren't there?
Yeah.
Pedigree-wise, you'd argue that Trent, Solanke and Foden have got the pedigree over Salah, Wood and Aït-Nouri.
Yeah.
No question though that Wood and Aït-Nouri are definitely flavour of the month, aren't they? So I can see why it's tempting. And I would do it for free. I don't think I'd do it for -4, and I certainly wouldn't look at it for -8. No.
Yeah. And last one, Indy says, I've been debating Salah or Saka in for Foden, and general response seems to be roll. However, I'm thinking of Havertz to Strand Larson and Foden to Salah. Alternatively, just bring Saka in for Foden because the players returning from injury, particularly Odegaard, could mean a return to a lot of goals for Arsenal. He hasn't told us how many free transfers he has. But he's basically, I've just brought it up here as well, does he move on from this team? So does he change anything about this team? Now, I think I was the one mainly suggesting to him to roll because then he can do more with his moves next week, because I think his team looks pretty good, personally.
Have a look at the team.
Sorry, I keep forgetting you're on a bit of a delay.
I've got it. He's got Palmer in there already, right? So he hasn't got that game week 12 move to make.
No.
He's getting the Salah FOMO. I presume he's got two free transfers. So what he can do is Strand Larson, Haaland to Strand Larson, Foden to Salah.
Yeah.
If that's a free, I'd do it.
Would you?
Yeah. I'd do it.
Losing 2 City seems crazy. I know they're not ticking, but I don't know.
I like I said, I've already said Salah outscores Haaland over the next 4.
He says he's added to it, by the way, so I'm just going to refresh. Carry on.
He's got... I mean, it's Foden and Haaland versus Strand Larson and Salah. It sounds like Foden and Haaland got the... But he's getting money out of that as well. He's going to have money in the bank from that too, right? So, I mean, huge amount of money, won't he? Yeah. Foden to Salah is what? A 2.5 million difference?
No, Foden's only like 9, isn't he?
9. He's 9.2, I think. 9.3. 1.5 difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Haaland to Strand Larson is what, 9 million?
Yeah.
So he's going to have like 7 or 8 million to spend, isn't he, out of that? So, I mean, you got to think he's going to do wonders with that 7. He's going to go Rodgers to Saka after that?
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
And then have Palmer, Salah, Saka.
That's where you want to be, I think.
And Havertz and Gabriel already in there, and then he's got the triple up of Arsenal for 12 onwards.
Yeah, and he's got Palmer already. So you've got to look beyond this week and what it could do. Now the question is, would it hurt this week to do that? Well, Strand Larson's at home to Palace, who have got injuries, and Wolves have... I mean, I think Wolves do win that game. Salah's going to outscore Haaland, I think.
He's in the chat, by the way, saying it's actually Havertz to Strand Larson and Foden to Salah.
Oh, well, yeah.
You do it?
Yeah, I'd do it because you can get Saka in, can't you, the week after? Or you could even get Havertz back for Wood, couldn't you, the week after? Because the money...
He wouldn't be able to get Saka.
No, I see, because it's not Haaland who's losing, right? So he hasn't got the money to do it. So he's without Arsenal going into... Right. Yeah,
I think what we were saying, Haaland and Foden out, could be a good move as well, if you can then get Saka the next week.
Yeah. I would probably do that. I would lose Haaland.
Yeah.
Because then you could go Rodgers to Saka, have the 2 Arsenal attackers, have Salah, Saka, Palmer. That's where people are going to move to in game week 12, isn't it? So you're kind of ahead of the curve there, I would say.
Always good to be ahead of the curve.
You are gambling that Strand Larson and Salah will outscore Foden and Haaland. But I think they would. I think they could.
Like it. Right. Thank you so much for people that have dropped their questions in, and thank you so much to the people that have been in the chat as well. I had loads of people in the chat with us, which is great. And Mark, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it was not our usual late tackle,
pleasure.
but it felt like it was kind of coming back again, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's fine. I knew we would only give. I knew there was no way we were going to limit it to half an
I
hour. When
know.
I'm involved, there's no chance.
I looked at the time and we were half an hour in, and we were still only looking at the chat, let alone doing the actual questions
Yeah,
as well. But
it's so easy talking to you, Randy, about FPL. So it was never going to happen. And
nah,
yeah, it's good. Yeah, good questions as well.
no, I've missed doing our streams, mate. But we'll try and get a few more in coming soon. But what we'll do, we'll put this up on I'll put it up for public consumption, and then you're welcome to give it a bit of a retweet if you would like, Matt. That'd be absolutely lovely.
Of course,
All right.
yeah, I'll do
Cool.
that.
Right. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be in the chat, obviously, as the deadline approaches, which is tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'm assuming there's a 12:30 kickoff. I haven't actually looked.
Yeah, it's Arsenal, Newcastle. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. And we will see you all again next week. So thank you very much, guys. And again, thank you very much, Mark. Bye-bye.